In this video we will take a look at how to enable the project management tools introduced in DDM 2018.11 for customers who are upgrading from earlier versions. There is a separate video that gives an overview of this new functionality, which should be viewed before enabling this after an upgrade. The new project management tools add new attributes to folder templates. However, these have not been enabled by default as they may conflict with attributes you already have configured, and we will look at how these can be enabled. So if I look at some existing projects that we have in DDM, and if I open this folder, then I've got the original folder template here with none of the new project management attributes allocated to it. So we'll go to admin to have a look at how we can enable these. So if we go to our folder types, and the folder that we've been looking at is projects, so we'll take projects here, and if I edit this and then look at the attributes, we can see that a number of the attributes are not enabled. So if I sort this by the page, we can see that these don't have a page assigned and so are not visible in the folder template. And if we have a look at the preview, then we can see this is the folder template as is. So we need to enable these new attributes. These are the RACI attributes and the RAG attributes and the time attributes. There are two that we don't need to enable. One is the folder ID and the other is the folder action order that is more related to folder actions. So we will start to work down the list, and if we just double click on each of these attributes, what we need to do is switch them on by selecting the properties page and then enabling visibility by clicking the two checkboxes. And now if we preview this, we can see that the callback date has appeared. So we just need to progress through these to switch them all on. Once these have been enabled, we can once again check the preview. So right now our RACI attributes are overlapping existing attributes on this folder form, and so we need to move these down to make them visible. Remember that each row usually takes 25 units, and so we need to move these down in steps of 25. So in this case we're going to move it down 75 steps. If we want to check what the default layout is, then we can right click to create a new folder, and without actually adding anything to this, if we preview the layout, then we can see how this folder is arranged, and so we can use this as a template. You may want to take a screenshot of it so that you can lay it out correctly. If I cancel this and come back to the projects folder, then we can now update these attributes to make space. So we need to move created on down by 3 rows, which is going to be 75 units. So if we look for created on, I'm going to move this to 200, and we move the label as well. So normally we add 2 to this, so this will be T202. If we preview this, now we've made some space, and we can continue working through these until we've got them arranged as we want. So with these correctly laid out, we may finally want to update the label for the owner and change it to responsible so that we have our RACI acronym correctly arranged. So if we look for owner, then we can just change this label to responsible. And if we just check that, then our folder template is updated and complete. So if we go back into DDM, we can look at one of our projects. We've got our attributes visible, and if we edit this, then we can start to populate them. Now our attributes are populated. If we refresh our search, we should see these on the main project search results window. So these columns will have been configured on your system as part of the upgrade to show these new attributes. Next thing we'll take a look at is folder actions. And again, these will have been enabled by default to encourage customers to take advantage of these new tools. They can, however, be disabled, and this will be covered a little later. But let's just have a look at this existing project. If we now look at actions, we can have a look at the actions that we can create against this folder type. So all of these default folder actions will have been added as part of your upgrade. There may be some things that we need to address, so you may find that this doesn't work after an upgrade and there are a few checks that we need to make. Firstly, if we go back into admin and go to our groups, then there are a number of default groups that have been enabled as part of the upgrade, and these are the departmental groups. If we check, I can show you a picture of the default groups that have been added, and these are the new groups: Engineering, Finance, Folder Archive, Marketing Department, Personnel, Production, Project Management Department, Purchasing, Quality Assurance, Sales, Stock Control and Workshop. If these didn't already exist in your database, they will have been added. You may find that you now have some duplicates, because if you already had a Quality Department, you will now also have Quality Assurance Department. As part of the upgrade, the new groups will be used to assign the access control permissions against the new folder tasks. So if we have a look at the access controls, if we take a look at folder decisions, you will either need to add your existing users to the new group, so Quality Assurance Department, or you will need to add one of your existing groups to the access control list. And in this case, we're going to select Quality Department. If we then progress through this, we've got the default states for these new folder actions. So we will select them all, and we just need to remove modify permission on something that's cancelled or completed. And we can click to confirm that. What we should also do is look for a group called All Employees or All Users, and this group should have all of your internal users assigned to it, and that's important so that people can see these new folder actions. The other thing that we need to be aware of is that if I come back to one of these folder actions, so I'll come back to folder types, if we have a look at decisions, so I've double clicked to enable editing of this. If we have a look at the folder name, then this has been assigned to an automatic numbering rule called action decision. So if I cancel this and then have a look at our auto numbering tools, you will see that numbering rules have been configured for all of the new action types. What we do need to be aware of, though, is if your system is configured to have numbering allocated to groups, then you will need to enable the groups to be able to use these new numbers. So just to take a look at that, if we have number allocation locked to specific groups, then if we have a look at one of these rules, then you'll see that there are no groups allocated, and if we click OK, we will be prompted to pick a group, and that's why it's useful to have all users or all employees, because we can now assign this rule to this group. I'm going to cancel that because I'm going to switch off. So I'm going to switch off number allocation locked to specific groups. Okay. So we'll just double check that we can create a new task. So I'll go back to DDM and let's create a new opportunity, for example. And my opportunity in this case has been correctly created. So the final thing we're going to look at is how we can control this list of folder actions against any folder type. So back into admin, if we go to folders, And if again we look at our projects, then I've double clicked to edit this again. If we look at content type, we can now control what content can be created in folders of this type. So by default it will have already enabled everything that you were previously able to do. So if previously you could create change order folders within your project folders, then you will still be able to do this. You can also see that we can control what type of items can be put into a folder. So again, all of these will be enabled by default, so documents, drawings and parts. But in this case, if for example I wanted to switch off concessions, then I can switch this off here, save that change. If I go back to DDM into this folder, I should now no longer have the option to create concessions. So it's an easy way to configure what type of folder actions you want against any existing folders. Again, by default, all of the new action types should have been created against any folder templates that you've created. So if you don't want those folder actions enabled against your folders, then you will need to go in at the admin level against the folders and deselect the things that you don't want appearing. So just an overview of the actions that you may need to take after upgrading DDM to take advantage of the new project management tools that have been introduced in this latest release.